Thursday Night Football is upon us, and this one looks like an interesting one. We'll say 20 implied points for the Niners today. Everybody's out for them, basically. No Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings, no George Kittle, no Brock Purdy. You still got Christian McCaffrey, though. You got a lot to figure out on this slate, where the Rams are a 6.5-point favorite at home. We always do here on the Splash Play channel for a Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football slates, the big showdown prizes. We're to look at projections from our friends over at Stochastic. We'll compare that to the ownership data, try to come up with some good takes, talk about the top players. We'll hop over to ETR's The Solver, see what the other side of the aisle thinks. Our friends have already established the run, looking at their data, a cash game optimal. We'll run some sims. They have them available. Hop over to Stochastic, run some more sims. I'll do a hand-build simming out. And by in this video, you'll know 3 takeaways to the unique lineups on this slate. A fine Thursday here. It's October, my birthday month. Let's get into it. And also, if you are a Splash Play regular, if you remember the best ball controversy we had earlier in the spring, stay tuned. The Altoona, Pennsylvania guy, I have an interesting update to share on that. I shared it in the Discord before, but I know a lot of people watching the Showdown videos don't care about it. That said, I'll put it at the end of the video, but I think it's worth sticking on the channel for if ever you doubt my powers. It's a fun one for me, not for anybody else. But let's get it going here, guys. Let's talk about the data. Of course, this is a slate where you have 2 noteworthy stars up top. You have McCaffrey, you have Puka Nacua. And shout out you guys here. We got some LMAOs. I think the members who are in the Discord know what we're talking about here. But appreciate all you guys being here live. Got some interesting chats from Braden as well. I'll talk about that in a moment here. I guess let's lead with this one. Gonna be an interesting one today. Thinking of doing a couple of portfolios, so like 5 to 10 entries. Each are different outlooks, or different outcomes. Certainly a thing that we talk about the Solver. It's one of the big perks of using that tool is that they do have a portfolio thing. I've talked before, I don't do any business with them, but a lot of sharp guys I like over there, Brick in particular, Run the Sims. They have a portfolio tool that Shady Advice, a top DFS player, guy who's crushing in best ball as well. He created there. Portfolio tools, main thing to keep in mind if you are building hand-built portfolios, let's say, actually try to leverage against stuff within those lineups. So let's say you have Devontae Adams in one lineup alongside Puka Nacua, then you probably want to play one, or, if you're doing it, kind of portfolio style, you'd want to do one with Adams and maybe some other lesser Rams pass catchers. You want to do one then where you're not playing Adams, you're playing Puka with whatever shitty Rams or no shitty Rams. Just keep in mind how you build portfolio stuff by hand, because a real tool will do a better job of kind of siphoning that out. And what day is your birthday? My baby is going to be born anytime the next 11 days. I am October 20th. So 1020, nice round number. But shout out to your child, Libra, I think no matter what. So the Libras here, we are the scales of life. The scales of justice, to tie into the previous conversation point. But congrats, Justin, and hope your child does not have every sleep regression like our little 3.5-year-old did back in the day. But we got projections here. Let's get into it. I've wasted enough time up top. Christian McCaffrey, 24.7 fantasy points here. Top projected player on the slate. McCaffrey also, thank you for this. Libras also have large penises. That's true. That's just science. I'm not the one saying it. Our pal Robert Griffin III is the one saying it. Christian McCaffrey, a very high projection here. Talk this at length on the Stochastic show as well. If you want to hear me talk about the slate with Laffy, as opposed to just me talking here, you can go check that out. But McCaffrey, the big things that stand out to me, number one, he's getting targeted 35% of the time he's running a route. In fact, if you want to be accurate to the decimal point, 35.2% of the time he's running a route. It's a crazy amount of targets for a running back. It'd be a crazy amount of targets for a wide receiver. Keep that in mind when we talk about Puka Nacua in a minute. But the main thing for McCaffrey here, the workload in particular, full point PPR, getting 10.8 targets a game, getting 7.8 catches a game. As Laffy pointed out to me on that Stochastic show, the market's right now 7.5 receptions for McCaffrey, I believe about 58 yards. He's expected to have a pretty good pass game role here. And on the rest of the team, because you have no Pearsall, because you have no Jennings, because you have no Kittle, you have a bunch of receivers that haven't really earned targets within the framework of this Niners offense. Now, obviously this week, you'd expect them to spend the entire short week game planning to get more targets for Kendrick Bourne, to get more targets for Demarcus Robinson, maybe to get more for Russell Gage, Sky Moore, MVS. If you want to go further down the food chain, those are your 5 receivers that should all be in play to some extent tonight for a Niners receiving core that has no alpha at this point. Jake Tongas, a tight end as well. He's getting 16.7% targets per out run. That's the best on the team besides McCaffrey and Brian Robinson for what that's worth. Point being, though, the pass game likely flows from McCaffrey. This is a Rams team that's not allowed a lot of targets to funnel towards tight ends, or to running backs, Only an 11.7% rate, negative 0.2 EPA per target to running backs. But I think the big thing with McCaffrey is you expect the volume to be there. You expect the crush of workload to be there. He's a good player that you're going to want to get in a lot of lineups based on the projection, based upon the usage, based upon the fact there just aren't a lot of Niners players left. to catch passes. So McCaffrey, certainly a hard fade to make, in my opinion, despite the projection being a little bit higher for McCaffrey than it is for Puka Nacua. I would personally find Puka Nacua to be a little bit of a difficult fade. Generally, your DFS principles would be that wide receivers are an easier fade as chalk than a running back, because running back volume is such an important part of things. But I do think for McCaffrey, you can capture a game script where Niners don't show up. The Niners cough the dogs a little bit early with McCaffrey, because this is a game that it seems like, I said it before on the Stochastic Show, it's like in the NBA. If you guys follow my NBA content, if you play NBA DFS, those days where you have star player X ruled out, star player Y ruled out in the same team, usually that third star player, that 4-star player is getting ruled out too. They just don't play the guys that day. In football, you don't do that because you have less games, and football teams don't like to fully roll over and give an opponent their belly, especially 3-1 division rivals right now, both of them competing for that first place spot in the NFC West. So they're not going to roll over here. But if the game script goes wonky, if things get weird, McCaffrey, certainly, if the game gets really out of hand, got to think he's the first guy they pull on a short week, given the fact that they are so banged up, so injured with Purdy, with the receivers being out. So for Christian McCaffrey, I think he's a more fluid piece, a more variable piece, despite the projection being higher. And personally, for me, I'll be trying to play lineups where I actively fade McCaffrey. I won't be doing the same thing quite as much as Puka Nacua. And in fact, I think Puka Nacua, for me, might be closer to a lock button play, which is going to be one of my bold takes here. I guess, is it bold? I don't know. But relative to game theory, it's bold. Puka Nacua, your number 2 projected guy at 23.4 fantasy points. He is currently, and again, I said that a lot of stuff I say here to you guys, I do say on the Stochastic stream, so I apologize for repeating myself if I do, 2 shows and you watch them both. That said, I think one of the most important things to me to highlight, Puka Nacua right now is playing better than any receiver I've looked at the data at for my 7 years doing this professionally. I'm as a content creator since 2018 at Stochastic. His numbers are insane. He's averaging 0.8 EPA per target, which is like incredibly efficient. You expect that for a guy, honestly, even for Tutu Atwell, who's not very good. But because like a deep shot guy, if he catches a play downfield, he might turn into a touchdown. He did it this past week. He's only averaging 0.2 EPA per target. So Puka Nacua, while getting targeted 12.5 times a game, is 4 times more efficient than a deep ball player. So that means that Puka Nacua is adding first downs. That means he's doing more than a receiver would in these normal situations. He's got 0.8 EPA per target, a 43.5% target per out run. And as opposed to a guy like JSN, who he had on last Thursday's slate, and I mentioned on that same video, like the rates seem a little bit high. I don't think JSN holds as being this much of an elite target earner. He certainly found the floor in the first 3 quarters of last Thursday Night Football's game. Puka Nacua, though, last year when he was healthy or when he was out there, he was getting targeted 38% of the time, almost 39% of the time he was running a route. So like, we're not seeing, it's a little bit high at 43.5, but it's not so much higher than last year. Like he did the exact same thing last year. People just kind of slept on it. Puka Nacua right now on pace for one of the best wide receiver years that have ever occurred. I believe 2,200 yards, like reception records, all that. And this is a team that previously has led Cooper Kupp to have the biggest fantasy receiver ever for or fantasy year ever for receivers. So for Puka Nacua, very comfortable with him. I don't think there's game scripts where the game goes away from him if Niners hanging competitively. Great, more targets for Puka Nacua. And because you have Devontae Adams there, they can't really key on Nacua the same way. Like his own ability to run kind of short, close to the line of scrimmage routes and get a little bit deeper and find holes in zone coverage. Puka can do everything. So for me, there are definitely ways that, I just know the game theory and how it goes, where you can try to fade Puka in lineups. You can build an Adams captain lineup. If he hits a captain, it's more likely that Puka Nacua has a flex-worthy game or a game even worse than that where he doesn't make the lineup. Like that's sort of the game theory you should approach it. But in terms of just the numbers, in terms of all that, and in terms of the thing that everybody's going to think on the slate, like we always talk about here, like this is not a contrarian thought. It's a very chalky first thought I have, but I really think Puka Nacua should be in like every lineup tonight. Because I don't think there's a lot of game scripts where he doesn't get there, especially in full point PPR. FanDuel, your mileage may vary. But that's a fucking weird slate on FanDuel. Mac Jones is $1,000. It's all stupid. But I would say for me, McCaffrey, there's ways that the Niners don't get there, that he doesn't play the full allotment of routes and snaps. Puka Nacua, unless they absolutely blow this team out and like do it by just kicking field goals and running the ball, I don't see how Puka Nacua doesn't make a lineup. So to me, the projection will also put you there a lot, obviously. But McCaffrey and Puka, your 2 unfadeable players relative to the projection data. Rams are going to smash this game. Niners have nobody left. Bold take. Look, we love the hot takes by Joe here. I will say, though, that's what everybody's going to assume on the slate. Like we always talk about here, whether you're me, who's somebody who does all the prep work in the world, has all the data at my fingertips that I swear by from Sports Info Solutions and other sites I put together into one sheet that you guys get access to by joining the Discord. Got to keep in mind, whether you're you guys in the chat, whether you're me doing these takes right now on video, everybody's going to think a lot of the same things here. People are going to think Rams onslaughts. You're probably better off remembering there's only a 6.5 point spread here. It's not like, Bills, Saints. And even that was one where the Saints hung in and there were sort of useful performances as a bring back there, especially for a showdown. It's not contrarian as Willie's making a joke about here, but like in reality here, everybody's going to think that the Rams kicked the Niners ass. So if you're going to play that kind of build, be mindful of getting more unique along the way. How do you feel about Bourne and Robinson? Could be skeleton key tonight. Let's talk about the projections first. We'll get there, Kirk, but I definitely will touch on that. Number 3 is Matthew Stafford, 17.7 projection. So a chasm between McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford here. Stafford's projection also, frankly, to me, feels a little bit inflated by the fact he just had the 300-yard day. But obviously, high projections for Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams means there is a pretty good projection for Stafford as a result. That said, I think Stafford, relative to that salary, a 10-4 salary, you have Kyron at $9K, Devontae Adams at $9,600, Mac Jones, who I am grossed out by in the thumbnail, he's at $9,200. You could save a lot of money not playing Stafford here. And if you do find a situation where there's PPR points for Puka, PPR points for Devontae Adams, whoever, if there isn't touchdown equity, it's very easy for Stafford to not make a lineup. So I'm comfortable moving away from, I usually am comfortable on a showdown slate, moving away from the pocket passing QB, especially when we have other upside players we can get to. But the fact that it's 1,400 less to play Kyron, I just think that's batshit. Like, I think Blake Corum's taking a lot of work away. But like we've talked about, in the main slate this past week, Kyron's playing better because of Blake Corum putting kind of the fire to his ass. We're now at a point, too, where Corum has kind of regressed in avoided tackle rate. He's down to 9%. Kyron is the feistiest he's looked at avoided tackle rate in his career. He's at 18% right now with a lot more work, getting 20 intended touches a game. Kyron's been legit good. Stafford is also playing incredibly well with an 80% catchable ball rate, 0.2 EPA per pass, 0.16 EPA per dropback. Stafford's playing good ball. But a QB who doesn't run, you can fade those guys in a showdown. So Stafford projects well. I think he's going to get into a lot of lineups, but he'd be one of the first guys to get unique, have a Stafford lineup and knock it down to Kyron, knock it down to Adams. Like, it's very easy for that to hit on the slate. Number 4 is Kyron Williams, a 16.3 projection. So about a 1.5, a little bit less than that behind Matthew Stafford. That's the salary so much cheaper. We'll see what ETR gives us in terms of the pure projection lines. We'll look at in a moment. But Kyron here at $9,000, I think, is a player to me. Happy to give up the 1.5 points or so of projection and play him over Stafford. Workload's been good for him overall. 3 red zone opportunities a game, 1.8 of which are inside the 10-yard line. For comparison, Blake Corum getting 1 per game overall in the red zone, 0.5 inside the 10-yard line. It's not anywhere as good as McCaffrey. McCaffrey getting literally double the red zone opportunities compared to Kyron, 6 per game compared to 3, 3.5 inside the 10-yard line compared to that 1.8 for Kyron. So that's a better role for McCaffrey, but that's fine. With the team total, with the game script we expect for the Rams here, and with the fact the Niners aren't going to be able to field a competent receiving core, to me, Kyron is a very strong play at that salary, and hopefully that makes the case. Devontae Adams, 2.5 red zone opportunities he gave for him, 1.5 which are inside the 10-yard line. It's substantially more than Puka Nacua, about 3x the red zone opportunities overall, 3x the opportunities inside the 10-yard line as well. So for Adams, he's kind of taking an elevated version of that DeMarcus Robinson role last year, who got schemed so many red zone opportunities. You don't really know why. It probably gets better as well with not having Tyler Higbee in today. He is doubtful. So you're probably getting some mix of, in particular, Davis Allen, Colby Parkinson. I don't know, maybe Ferguson gets active, something like that. But for Adams, he's your touchdown earner in this offense. He's a guy as well. If you're not playing Puka at captain, Adams should be a lot closer to making that lineup, whether it's a captain or in the flex. He's also your direct leverage against Puka. If Adams has an outlier day as a captain, that's the way that Puka maybe doesn't make the lineup, even though still think he's pretty likely to make it in the flex. But Devontae Adams, 9,600, very strong play here. And again, I think playable as well to do Puka Nacua and Adams without Stafford, especially if those two guys are in the flex in a lineup. Like, I think there's a lot of ways. It feels like Stafford could make a lineup when you're building it, but he might not actually make it in practicality. Sorting my value here. Colby Parkinson, your top value. Russell Gage, your top value in terms of the Niners receivers. So even though people are very curious about the Bourne and DeMarcus Robinson tier, it seems like in terms of just the projection stuff, Russell Gage might make it a little bit more as a $200 guy. Gage, actually have not looked at the snap counts. Russell Gage has not played since week 1. He played 28 snaps then, but 0 since that point. Sky Moore Played 8 snaps last week, 34 the week before that. So would think that he benefits a little bit from Jennings being out, probably gets in the slot more. Demarcus Robinson last week in his return from his suspension after signing with the Niners, he played 25 snaps. Kendrick Bourne, 44 snaps this past week, 47 the week before that, 35 the week before that. So he's been getting regular work. He should, in terms of the route expectation, snap expectation, be the highest. This guy's not coming up naturally as top values. Gage and Sky Moore come up, but I would agree with Kirk's take here that Robinson and Bourne are the better plays. Bourne's going to be out there a lot. Bourne might be, a sacrificial X, just kind of creating some room for McCaffrey to get checkdowns theoretically. And I do like DeMarcus Robinson's touchdown equity a little bit more, but I would say the fact that we have Gage and Sky Moore coming up as top values here, and the fact that Robinson and Kendrick Bourne are a bit behind, those guys are the better plays, and I would expect the higher volume of workload here. But Gage and Sky Moore are going to get out there. I would say if I'm going to rank the workloads here, and actually what's MVS at? Because I didn't look up his snaps. MVS inactive last week, 27 snaps week 1, 9 week 2, 17 week 3. Yes, it's got to be Bourne number 1. Robinson and Sky Moore might be closer in snaps than you'd want to see. But I think it's Robinson too. And like I said in Stochastic, I think it's like a 1B in terms of the fantasy stuff for Robinson and Kendrick Bourne. Number 3 in terms of route expectation, I think would be Sky Moore. 4 to me would be pretty close between MVS and Russell Gage. So I'm not really sold in this Gage thing here, but he's $200. He's coming in. That's how it looks. Number 3 is Jordan Whittington. Lofty pointed out to me on Stochastic this morning. I was kind of surprised to see it. Whittington is playing a lot more snaps than you would think. He's playing about 40 snaps per game. Last week, Whittington also played 60 snaps. So that's boosting the count a little bit, but was over 30 snaps every game before that. Whittington and Tutu Atwell are actually getting very similar workloads in terms of the amount of routes run and the targeting being not that high at about 8% target per route run. But they're still out there. So Whittington is a value in play. Colby Parkinson, another value for the Rams, particularly because of Higbee being doubtful, not going to play today. These are your cheap Rams pieces, and Parkinson and Whittington both have about 4 fantasy point projections. So those guys should make lineups more than Russell Gage or Sky Moore based on the projection. Sky Moore, those are number 4 value, $800 salary for him, a 2.4 projection. So substantially less than Parkinson and Whittington, but still more than Russell Gage is expected to have. And then Kanata Mumpfield, they have how many snaps did he play last week? He's your number 5 value. I got it. I misspelled this. Hold on. Kanata Mumpfield played 8 snaps last week. I don't think he's really a play when you have this many Niners values. That said, he's your number 5 value overall. What trying times are these when we once again have to discuss MVS? I will say Eric Lindquist not doing content today, so he won't be able to tout MVS and anything. That said, he MVS does do this shit sometimes, and my pal Eric Lindquist I always think of with MVS because he killed him a couple of years ago in best ball. But Eric got him right a couple times last year when he was on the Saints. So MVS, we know, can always break those big games out of nowhere. I just don't know that he's a guarantee to get a meaningful uptick in routes because like Kendrick Bourne has really moved ahead of him. It does a very similar thing as like a sacrificial X. If MVS gets there, he's kind of got to get there on like 10 to 20 snaps, most likely, which he can, but it's tough. Just is going to be wide receiver 2. Who's Just? Who's I don't know what this nickname is, but please feel free to tell me. We also shouldn't pretend like Jennings and Pearsall are unstoppable elite forces. I mean, Jennings has been at times. Pearsall, look, no matter what you think about the Niners receiving core, I would say Pearsall and Jennings are both substantially better. Juszczyk, nobody calls him that. They call him Juice if you're going to call him anything. But still, Juszczyk is not going to be wide receiver 2. No chance. He does the same thing as McCaffrey. That route tree doesn't get there. But that's not, I did not think of Kyle Juszczyk. That's an awful call. Juszczyk's projection here, 2.7 at a 2K salary. It's not that far off Russell Gage and Sky Moore, but no. Like when he gets targets is when there's no McCaffrey in. And at this point, they're giving Brian Robinson targets. So even that wouldn't benefit. And last year, Juszczyk, like when McCaffrey wasn't, he still wasn't getting targets. So I would still think, even if you're doing it as a bit, don't play Kyle Juszczyk and expect him to get a meaningful workload uptick. I think that's crazy. Anybody else to note here? Kendrick Bourne is about a 10-point projection, so he should be the highest of the Niners receivers. Brian Robinson has a 4 fantasy point projection. His snaps have been pretty consistent. They came down a little bit. Played 18 week 1, 16 week 2, 6 week 3, 10 week 4. Brian Robinson, I'm just highlighting here because if McCaffrey doesn't get there, Robinson has a better shot of making it, especially at the flex at 2,400. But really, it's pretty ugly here. I think out of the pass catchers to me, not including CMC, Jake Tongas would be the one I would trust the most because he's had an actual role since Kittle went down. The other guys, I gave my rankings already. Would you play 2 SF wide receivers in the flex without Jones? Yes. Very easy for Mac Jones to not make a lineup. I do not believe the juice will get loose today. Let's go to ownership next. And guys, if you want to see all this data for yourself, as it updates throughout the day from Stochastic, make sure you use that promo code SPLASH over at Stochastic, 15% off that promo code SPLASH, and it's in perpetuity too. So it is actually one of the better deals they have, even though they'll tout some 50% ones only the first month. With that promo code, you get it off in perpetuity. So really do check it out. It supports the show. Half the money you pay to Stochastic comes back to me. A big way I'm able to afford doing this is the Stochastic signups you guys do. So please do check them out down below. And I will pull the tag here before anybody complains. And join the Discord too. $5 to join. You guys know the deal. All right, ownership here. 80% expected ownership for Christian McCaffrey, 28% in the captain spot. Puka Nacua is 74% ownership, 29% in the captain spot. These are 2 players that right away are going to get into pretty much every lineup. They should be the first players you put in a cash game build if you are a sicko that does cash games for a showdown. That said, for McCaffrey and Puka, you fade one of these guys, fade both those guys. Literally the same situation as Trey McBride and as JSN were on the same Thursday last week. The issue is that McCaffrey and Puka are much better plays, much more involved, much more steady workloads that have been there over the course of multiple years. For McCaffrey and Puka, they are a harder fade than McBride and JSN, but in terms of the game theory, they represent the same thing. And last week we did see in the winning Millie Maker lineup, a lot of the top tournaments, it was a fade on McBride, a fade on JSN, and they were guys that got in every lineup as well and had similar ownership numbers. Number 3 is Matthew Stafford, projected for 52% ownership, 6% at captain. I think he's more appealing as a captain play overall than just getting him at 50% without pushing him at captain. I think he's one way potentially that you can, well, it's tough because Adams is cheaper. But I think if you're playing Adams and Puka, thinking about Stafford as captain is more logical there to try to capture that upside. That said, the fact that he just had 300 yards passing, the fact that people just had him, he might have won some tournaments out there. I forget how that looked math-wise. Stafford, I think, gets overowned today compared to a pocket passer who we normally don't love the fantasy upside. I'm comfortable getting less Stafford overall, but if I'm playing him, I think boosting him at captain is probably the wiser move. Hey, shout out Will here. Going to use promo code SPLASH for those coveted Jake Hari NHL projections. Jake is one of the best in the biz at NHL. People don't, if you don't know Jake Hari, number one of my favorite guys in the biz, did shows them at Stochastic back when we were first starting up Awesemo. He, Josh, and me were, I think, the first guys actually doing content for it. But Jake for NHL is one of the best guys for NHL. So if you want to play a niche sport, but know you're getting it in good, use Jake Hari's NHL data. That's Stochastic. Kyron Williams, 50% ownership overall, 8% captain. Love this ownership for him. The fact it's a little bit light, the fact it's less than Stafford, still obviously captain upside. But I would say if you're not playing McCaffrey, not playing Puka, not playing Devontae Adams at captain, Kyron should be the first guy you look at. Get good red zone role. He's holding Corum at bay. Corum is also kind of rounding into a less impressive version of what he was the first 3 weeks. That's all good stuff for Kyron. Number 5, Mac Jones, 42% ownership overall, 4% in captain. QBs, as we know, highest floor generally in a showdown slate. Also a pretty big ceiling. More likely that a Mac Jones hits at captain with multiple pass catchers. So you're probably talking playing McCaffrey. If not, you got to play, I think, at least 2 of the Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Jake Tongas, whatever tier of Niners want to come with that receiver. For Mac Jones, got to be a game script where he's got a shot to drop back 50 times. You just run the risk that the Niners get their ass kicked, I guess. But Mac Jones here, decent ownership. I think he's not a bad play. And frankly, relative to the QBs, like I get why Stafford comes up more. I'd rather for tournaments take the shot on Mac Jones, I think. Just because of the fact he runs a little bit, plays some playground ball, and really if the Niners score 20 points that are competitive in this game throughout, Mac Jones probably had a better day than people realize. Devontae Adams predicted for 40% ownership, 9% at captain. Pretty reasonable ownership overall. He is definitely a highly owned captain. But again, one of those guys, McCaffrey, Puka, Kyron, Adams to be the most binary, obvious captain selections you'll have. Kendrick Bourne, 38% ownership, 5% at captain. He'll allow you to play a lot of the studs. Can't really hate playing McCaffrey, even though the upside is certainly not anywhere close, theoretically, to McCaffrey, Puka, Kyron, Adams. Demarcus Robinson, same thing, 31% ownership or 32%, 3% in captain. Josh Carty, I'll just highlight here, 27% expected ownership. Somebody asked on the Stochastic stream, like, what's a game script where the Niners are competitive? It's probably Rams drive stalling out, because I don't think the Rams are going to have a super hard time moving the ball regardless. If they move the ball but don't score touchdowns, the Niners stay competitive. Josh Carty gets more field goals. I think he's a very important play for kind of game theory builds you're going to put together where the Niners do stay competitive. Rams D, 24% ownership. Expected here, only 2% in captain. And low-owned guys, Sky Moore expected under 10%. Davis Allen under 10%. Brian Robinson under 10. Luke Farrell, your tight end pivot to Jake Tongas under 10. Tutu Atwell at only 3. The use check fans, you get him at 3%. Russell Gage at 3. MVS at 2. Mumfield, Xavier Smith, Braden Willis, probably not playing these guys. A lot of guys though under 10% that can decrease your ownership product and might get some PPR points in Sky Moore's case, might catch a touchdown in Davis Allen's case, might fill in for CMC if the game gets out of hand, or if they just want to limit CMC's workload in a short week. Very credible plays in my opinion, including Whittington here. Guys under 20%, Colby Parkinson. You got some playable options to decrease the ownership. Let's go to the solver next. Let me log in here. Let's see what ETR's side of the equation thinks here. Do we have a sim for this? We do have a sim as well. But let's build our captain or our optimal lineups here, our cash game lineups. We'll see what we get in our top 25. And I got to, of course, got to change the projections a little bit. Let me just move the decimals here. 0.89. 0.19 instead of 2. Just got to make a couple changes to live up to DraftKings requests here. You guys, show some love if you can. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment if you get any value of this video. Of course, I'm here for the Monday and Thursday showdown slates. Tomorrow, main slate as well at 12 p.m. No final takes video on Sunday because I'm going to be at my brother-in-law's wedding, so I'm not going to be able to do that, but I'll be back for the Live Before Lock Stochastic show just in time, probably very hungover. But guys, show some love. Subscribe, hit the like button. Help me keep up about the keep above the 100 likes per video. We're on a good streak of doing those here. Your guys' support goes a long way for me as we fight this YouTube algorithm. But the more you guys keep hitting the like button, more it helps me out here as I think we're making progress. I think my suggestions are going up because of you guys in large part. So please do that. And check out the solver too, the tool you're going to see on screen. Promo code SPLASH on there as well. I will not get you a discount, but does support the show. All right, 98.7 fantasy points for top optimal lineup here, according to ETR data. It's Christian McCaffrey at captain, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Kendrick Bourne, Rams D, Demarcus Robinson. So 2 Niners values allow you to cram in the studs, McCaffrey, Puka, Kyron. Yeah, really no critiques on that build. Certainly, if you're playing something like this in a large field tournament, you're fucking up. You shouldn't do it. But that's a obvious cash game build. Congrats on the wedding sex. It's unfortunately not that time of the month, and I am not. I am no thanks. I don't need to ruin the hotel room, and also no thanks. But I appreciate the sentiment. Christian McCaffrey here, more like the wedding getting bombed, which will be fun too. We're going to a nice restaurant too. They're just booking like a very fancy restaurant as part of the wedding, so excited about that. We got Christian McCaffrey here. Number one player, no shocker here, 100% of the top 25. Puka Nacua, 100% of the top 25. Spoiler alert for the ways to get unique here. It's a ballsy one, but when you see this right away, this is always the most important thing to keep in mind. McCaffrey, Puka Nacua, if you fade one of these guys, you fade both these guys, you're getting so far away from the pockets of ownership that occur in a showdown slate. Doesn't mean these guys are bad plays or anything. Doesn't mean you have to do that. But if you're playing, small amount of lineups, you want a shot at the biggest prize pool, fade at least one of McCaffrey, one of Puka. Fade them both if you really want to put yourself on an ownership pattern of 10% of lineups that won't have either guy. Besides that, nobody's at 100% of lineups, so nothing really noteworthy on that front. Stack construction-wise, you're getting 4-2 Rams the most. 48% of the optimal lineups have a Rams 4-2, Rams 3-3 and 36% of them, and a Rams 5-1 and 16%. So it's not going to happen most likely, but a Niners onslaught, maybe where only Puka or Kyron gets there. Let's say the Rams, I think the most logical thing would be like Kyron captain with 5 Niners, I guess. that could maybe play, but just really kind of trying to come up with some reason here to play a Niners 5-1. But the biggest reason that nobody's going to be playing it, even a Niners 4-2 build, not coming up naturally. Again, Joe, you are saying the chalkiest shit. I mean, no disrespect, Joe. You're literally saying the thing that everybody's going to think on the slate. So just keep that in mind. This is what I try to encourage you guys to do in every slate. Let's pull in my stack settings here. We'll build a pool of lineups and then sim them out with ETR. Let's go 99.9% cash here. Take out max ownership. And we got boosts already on, so that'll do it. Let's put our variants on. Let's build 250 lineups here. But it's really important to keep in mind, like, you have a slate where you have a bunch of Niners key players rolled out. Everybody's going to think the Niners get their ass kicked. It doesn't mean the Niners don't get their ass kicked. But like, really just be aware of the fact that like everybody in the world playing the slate tonight is going to think that first thought that we all have, which is that the Niners aren't going to show up. They're not going to want to play McCaffrey a lot. And in reality, you know, the way you win the money is building a fucking Niners 5-1 where they somehow steamroll the Rams. That's showdown stuff. So just really be mindful of it. I'm not trying to be mean, Joe, just for the record. I just want you to like really, like, the most important thing I could tell you guys is to be a fact check for yourself, like I am for myself. And one of the biggest priority points for me in 2025 has been to recognize that no matter how much work I put in, no matter how much data I have in front of me, no matter how much I do this for year after year, I'm going to think a lot of the same first thoughts as everybody else out there. And that's the humbling you have to have when playing these DFS slates, but especially on a Monday, Thursday showdown slate. It's just chalk fests over and over again if people think the exact same way. So try to keep that in mind. But let's sim these lineups out in the Millie Maker tonight. Again, the portfolio tool on the solver is a great tool to have if you want to have lineups that leverage against each other. Build a pool of 20 lineups per portfolio. You build 15 of them. I'll just show you guys here because I've done it in a while. Easy pivot IC is used Tongus over Bourne. Think that'll be one people do. Got to keep in mind, Tongus has a couple good box score results. I believe has 2 touchdowns on the year as well. Probably not as unique as you would think, but anytime you're going from one receiver to another lower dollar receiver, that is a similar opportunity. You leave more salary on the table. That's a positive. Corum or B-Rob red zone usage for low-owned captain. I probably wouldn't go to them at captain. But I get, it's possible, I guess, if you have enough of the studs hitting. Corum's getting 1 red zone opportunity a game. Brian Robinson's getting 0.5. They're both getting 0.5 inside the 10-yard line. So I guess Brian Robinson, when he does get a red zone touch, it's pretty close to the goal line. Snap count for Robinson's 12.5 per game. Blake Corum 16.5. Relative to the game script, I'd probably favor Corum. But I agree. Like, to me, like, Robinson and Corum are very much in play today. Neither is a fun play, though. All right, so you can see here the top ROI lines, which we'll read. You can also see the different portfolios here, which is what the portfolio tool does. You see the amount of diversity as well that it creates. So our first portfolio has Puka Nacua 90%, McCaffrey and 80. Then we go to the highest diversity lineup, and it has McCaffrey and 85, Puka at 75. So just an obvious kind of quick way to show you guys here. That's what the portfolio tool does, the solver. I like it a lot. I've been using it for slates when I don't want to hand build my 20 maxes and stuff like that, which has been a lot of them because time is always sparse. But the portfolios tool here on the solver is a really nice thing to have. And you could also just go like down the chain here. You don't like this lineup having Luke Farrell. You could like kind of go to one that has more Tongus, that kind of stuff. So use the portfolio tool in the solver if you do pay for it. But your top ROI lineup right now, according to ETR, which has about double the number 2 lineup, is McCaffrey at captain, Puka Nacua in the flex, Mac Jones, Jake Tongus, Demarcus Robinson, Blake Corum. So a Kyron fade. You are playing the Corum side of things here. You also are noteworthily playing 4 Niners, which was not coming up naturally in the projection set. So keep that in mind. If you play slightly more Niners, you're going to get more unique. This is expected to only have 1 dupe, 1,700 ROI. It's a really high ROI for that lineup. Number 2 is Mac Jones at captain. And also is the thing that ETR's data guys have talked about, having the kind of V curve here of distributions is what they like to play because you have the high upside. And if it fails, it loses you money. But you want to have the ones here that have this kind of distribution. A V curve is what they would call it. Mac Jones, captain, Devontae Adams, Josh Carty. So a bit of a Rams stalling out build, perhaps. Kendrick Bourne, Jake Tongus, Christian McCaffrey, $49K in salary. Expected to have no dupes. That is how people are not going to be playing 4 Niners. It's basically it. You're going to find most, I would think, 3 Niners, and in fact, a lot of lineups, 2 Niners, 1 Niner. It's pretty obvious how to get unique on the slate. Number 3 is Mac Jones again at captain. Puka Nacua, Kendrick Bourne, Jake Tungus, Demarcus Robinson, Christian McCaffrey. So for Mac Jones, Puka Nacua, you know what? I do see what you're talking about, Steven, and I don't know why the fuck that would be, but I am a little bit out of sync. Fucking StreamYard gives me a curveball every day. Another 5-1 Niners build. Puka Nacua as your bring back. Only 3 dupes on it. You're getting a read here on what ETR is giving you. Number 4 is Mac Jones again. Puka Nacua, Josh Carty, Blake Corum, Kendrick Bourne, McCaffrey. So a 3-3 build here. Only 1 dupe on it. Not a lot of dupes for the top lineups at ETR data. And number 5, in terms of ROI and ETR's lineups, Puka Nacua at captain, Kyron Williams, Josh Carty, Demarcus Robinson being played here instead of Kendrick Bourne. I think leaving the amount of salary as well that you could afford to get to Bourne here. Important thing to note for a showdown. Blake Hora makes his lineup in addition to Kyron. Certainly in a dominant Rams build. Both guys can make it in the flex. The Rams RBs. And Matthew Stafford in this one too. Only 3 dupes on it. Finder. I could see it on the screen. Like I'm a little bit delayed and it's odd, but whatever, man. This is my hell. StreamYard makes my life slightly more difficult every day. Captain Bourne, not coming up a lot here naturally in the top lineups, but here's one. Bourne, McCaffrey, Stafford, Devontae Adams, Whittington, Mac Jones. Overall, in these lineups, though, your highest ROI player is Mac Jones, 175% ROI. He's in 33% of lineups. ETR also giving you 10% at captain when he is not coming up. Actually, no, he doesn't have a positive ROI at captain, but whatever. Still giving you 10% of him at captain. Jake Tongus, your number 2 ROI guy behind Mac Jones. Demarcus Robinson at number 3. Kyle Juszczyk fans, he's only in 2% of lineups, but he does have a 130% ROI in the flex. Blake Corum at 5%, number 5 here, 122% ROI for him and 31% of lineups. So your top 5 on ETR: Mac Jones, Jake Tongus, Demarcus Robinson, Kyle Juszczyk, and Blake Corum. You're getting the most Rams 4-2s, some 3-3s, 5-1 Rams, 4-2 Niners. All right. Yeah, Niners stuff doesn't come up a lot, but presumably when a Niners dominant build hits, it wins you more money. So really, as much as it may not seem like a fun thing to do today, you probably do want to play some Niners builds that are dominant because they're not going to get played enough by the field. Let's go to the stochastic sim next. Last stage, well, not the last stage of our journey, but sort of. I probably didn't need to resim this, but I'll resim it anyway for you guys. But please do check out the solver. Link down below. Promo code Splash. You guys know the deal on the solver. A great tool. It is an optimizer, like your classic Fantasy Cruncher optimizer, but with less insane ownership. Actually, a very nice guy runs the solver. This guy, Galen, always replies to my emails, which I appreciate. But it is affiliated with ETR. It's a great product. Check it out. The solver and Stochastic, more of a straight sim tool, but you can hand build stuff, kind of use an optimizer way. I'll show you guys that in a moment here with the randomness stuff. They're building more optimizer stuff on Stochastic, but I like to use the solver when I want to control stuff, have my hand on the wheel the most. For Stochastic, you can have your hand on the wheel a little bit more, but you're still mostly getting what their data gives you. But frankly, they're crushing this year. They've had Millie Maker winners multiple times over. So Stochastic data doing a great job too with that promo code SPLASH. Link down below. 15% off. And here's the last stage of the sim. I'm going to take some water. Shout out to all you guys hanging out here. Again, trying to keep up above 100 likes on all these videos. So please do hit that like button down below. Subscribe down below. Goes a long way for me here. I'm just one dude showing you my gambling as best I can. But I have a lot of experience in this space, obviously in DFS in general. The NFL, I literally took a job running Football Outsider so I could learn more about football, learn as much as I could. The company fucking collapsed. It wasn't my fault, though. We made more money than we ever did. The point being, I know stuff. So please subscribe to the channel with the like button. Even if all you're going to do is fade my takes. It hurts me. But, you know, do whatever the fuck you want. Just follow the channel. Top lineups according to Stochastic. Number 1, McCaffrey captain, a Niners 4-2. McCaffrey captain, Niners D, Demarcus Robinson, Mac Jones, Puka Nacua 2-2. So once again, slightly Niners dominant. McCaffrey captain. It allows you to get unique enough to play a lineup here with mostly chalk players. Number 2 is Devontae Adams captain. Christian McCaffrey, Josh Carty, Kendrick Bourne, Mac Jones, Rams. So a 3-3 build here. Number 2 ROI. Number 3 is Luke Farrell at captain. No fucking chance. But I presume this allows you to cram in the studs. Luke Farrell, captain, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Carty, Kyron Williams, Mac Jones, Puka Nacua. So that is what Luke Farrell, captain, allows you. You get some leverage on Jake Tongas. Luke Farrell is playing 37 snaps a game. Jake Tongas at 44. Luke Farrell running 13 routes a game. Jake Tongas at 24. He is commanding. Luke Farrell, only 11.5% target per route run compared to 17 for Tongas. So Farrell should be behind Tongas, but you get direct leverage with Farrell. So I get the logic here, even though I wouldn't really want to play that lineup. Number 4 is Christian McCaffrey, captain. Eddie Pinheiro, Jake Tongas, Kyron Williams, Mac Jones, and Rams D, leaving 1,500 on the table, but another Niners dominant build. And number 4, a Rams dominant build, a 4-2 with Puka Nacua, captain, Christian McCaffrey. So our 2 chalk players are in there. Kendrick Bourne does not get us unique. Matthew Stafford does not get us unique. Rams D does not get us unique. Xavier Smith is the thing that gets us unique, a guy who's probably barely going to play. And you also leave $2K in salary on the table. So, not a good lineup here, but you're kind of seeing what you have to do. Second from the bottom is the one, Bourne at captain. 5-1 Niners build with Bourne at captain, Niners D, McCaffrey, Devontae Adams is your 1 Rams bring back, Eddie Pinheiro, Mac Jones, leaving 4,100 on the table, and that is your number 8 highest ROI lineup. Gotta say, based on both sites, really feels, and tying back to what we were talking about with Joe in the chat, uniqueness should really be rewarded on the slate. Like, and if it doesn't get rewarded, it's going to be a 500 lineup train kind of night winning would be my guess. But really ETR and stochastic both pushing you towards more unique lineups. Shout Lee here. Who else provides behind the paywall stuff to this degree? No one, from what I can tell. Well, look, my goal here, and I had some interesting meetings this week, which I'll spare the details on. What I view as my value to you guys, like I just show you guys the products and I try to be as forthright as I possibly can be. And I think here, like you will see nobody else content-wise out there doing ETR and stochastic. In my opinion, those are the sites that drive the quality lineups as much as anything. SaberSim does as well. But those 2 are like the big ones. So if you have a read on what those 2 sites do, you have a pretty good read on what most of the industry is going to do. So just something to keep in mind with that process. Highest ROIs right now. We got Colby Parkinson, 39% ROI at captain. Rams D at captain, a 34% ROI. Russell Gage, a 31% ROI at captain. MVS, a 26% ROI. This is a fucking wacky bunch of ROIs. Luke Farrell at captain, a 19% ROI. And Tutu Atwell, an 8% ROI at captain. So I'm sure these guys are not going to be very highly exposed to captain, maybe Rams D a little bit more. But basically, what this is telling you is that just getting that low-owned captain piece and cramming star players in is going to be a way these sims view it as your biggest upside, I guess. I appreciate that, Willie. Thank you for that. I am the best. I try to be wise. Can't get everything right, but you guys hopefully know if you follow these videos, I get more right than I get wrong. And the things that I get wrong, you hopefully can monetize against me. 500-person train also running out of Pennsylvania. Stay tuned for the end of the video, guys, if you want to get that joke. Overall exposures, according to Stochastic, in their top 150. 44% McCaffrey in the flex. At captain, you're also getting 33% McCaffrey. So it looks like McCaffrey's in about 75% of lineups overall, and he is your highest exposed player in the flex. Puka Nacua, 44% in the flex exposure. A captain, 24%. So you're getting McCaffrey in 75% of your lineups, Puka and only 68%. But basically, what the sim is telling you is do be willing to fade these guys in some portion of lineups, especially if you're doing a 150 set. But again, your biggest upside is if somehow these guys don't hit and you get that right. Sim is definitely supporting that angle. Kyron Williams, 40% exposure in the flex. What are we getting at captain? Only 9% at captain. So Kyron's about half your lineups overall. Definitely less than Puka and McCaffrey. But I'd expect him to be the number 3rd highest owned overall for the sim. Rams D and 37% here exposure. Fields at 23. So a big positive stand on Rams D in the flex. And Matthew Stafford only 37% in the flex. Fields at 48. So a little bit of a stand on Stafford, but he is still your 5th highest owned guy with Mac Jones a little bit behind him. Josh Carty, the Rams kicker, a little bit behind him. Overall, your highest leverage players, positive leverage on Rams D in the flex. No surprise. 13% more than the field's exposure in the flex for Stochastic's top 150. Eddie Pinheiro, the Niners kicker, he's in 26% of lineups. Field's at 13 in the flex. So you are getting 2x the field of Eddie Pinheiro and Stochastic's top 150. Tutu Atwell in 13% of these top 150 lineups. Field's at 3. So a 4x exposure on Tutu Atwell. Josh Carty, 34% exposure. Field's at 26. 8% positive leverage on him in the flex. And Rams D, 8% exposure at captain, Fields at 2. So 4x the exposure for Rams D at captain, including 6% leverage. So, to, again, people that want to play it chalkily, in terms of the expected outcome, the Rams kick their ass. This is your way to get a little more unique. You play Rams at captain, jam in some studs. That could pull off the outcome while still getting more unique. Your most negative leverage players, Matthew Stafford in the flex, you're fading him 12% less in the field there. Jordan Whittington in Stochastic's top 150, 11% less in the field. Only 5% of lineups have him. He's played a lot of snaps and he's 1K. I think there's a credible case for him, but the sim doesn't like him. Colby Parkinson, 8% less in the field here in the flex as well. You're only getting 9% exposure. Field's at 16. Sky Moore, 7% less in the field, 3% in the flex. Field's going to be at 9. And Davis Allen, 7% less in the flex. Only 1% exposure to Davis Allen. That surprises me. Field will be at 8%. And real fast, captain ownership. McCaffrey in Stochastic's top 150. He's in 33% at captain. Kyron is actually, Puka's at 24. And everybody else under 10. But Kyron is at 9.3. Adams at 9.3. Rams at 8. So really concentrated captain pool here. This is 54, 63, 72. About 80% of your lineups are these 5 guys. McCaffrey, Puka, Kyron, Adams, Rams D. Make up 80% of the captain pool for Stochastic. Let's do a hand build here. Last stage of the journey before I give you guys my 3 ways to get unique based on what we've seen so far. All right. Showdown. Large contest. All right. What do we do here? I don't think Puka's fadeable. Been on that train. I'm going to go Puka here in the flex for now. I do think the Niners score enough points. Let's just put McCaffrey in. Let's put him in the flex. We'll get unique at captain. Did seem like the Sims were rewarding getting unique at captain. Josh Carty. I can't get out of my brain. Josh Carty is the way to keep this game competitive. So I'm going to go Josh Carty. Should I go Josh Carty captain? I'm going to go Josh Carty captain. Josh Carty captain, Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey. Do you want to get a Niners receiver in? I think Kendrick Bourne will get played more than DeMarcus Robinson. Sky Moore does seem like he might get more snaps. Fuck, man. This is tough. So I'm really thinking through it here. Let's see what we can do with Mac Jones making it in. So Carty at captain, Puka, McCaffrey, Mac Jones. Mac Jones fighting for his life out there. Do I really want to do that? Let's game this out here. 48.50 left for the last 2 spots. Maybe play Mac Jones and Rams D. I just would rather play Kyron. I'm going to take Mac Jones out. I'm going to put Kyron in. I think Kyron punches in a touchdown. All right, so that leaves us 49.50 left. How is Kyron cheaper than Mac Jones? I get he's a QB, but this game build, it doesn't really make sense to me. Tongas feels like he's going to be a very obvious play here, but we have Carty at captain. That's going to get the ownership down. So let's put in Jake Tongas. So McCaffrey, Tongas from the Niners side, Carty, Puka, Kyron from the Rams side. 5,700 left. We probably want to leave some salary on the table here. Pinheiro, Kendrick Bourne. Let's go with 3-3 to DeMarcus Robinson. So fading both QBs, that gets us unique. 2 Niners pass catchers with pretty low ceilings in Tongas, DeMarcus Robinson. Let's see what we get. Team I'm simming out right now. Josh Carty, captain. Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Jake Tongas, DeMarcus. Negative 53. Ugh. All right, let's take these 2 guys out. Here, complete the lineup for me. Stupid sim. You do it. You don't like what I'm doing, you do it then. So it adds in Mac Jones and Colby Parkinson instead. Only 100 on the table. Yeah, it's a negative ROI too. Take these two fuckers out. Let's ramp up the randomness. All right, complete the lineup now. Kendrick Bourne, Rams D get added in here. So this team leaves 1,300 on the table. Josh Carty, captain, McCaffrey, Kendrick Bourne, Kyron Puka, Rams D, negative 25%. When your kicker at captain, it's a 50-yarder. It feels good. I don't think the sim is rewarding me for Josh Carty at captain as much as I feel like he should. And what the fuck else can I do? I'm putting in like pretty chalky assholes here. Let's go 15% randomness. Let's do my last try. It does hate no QBs. I think you're right about that. All right, this only leaves 100 on the table. This is not going to do it. And that's also the same fucking lineup we built. Let's go to... You have to feed it what you want, which is sort of the flaw in Sims sometimes. Let's do 25% randomness. Still gets the same shit in there. All right, well... All right, what if we take out Josh Carty at captain? I mean, frankly, these three, I think, are my core. McCaffrey, Kyron, Puka. Let's let it put in whatever it wants at captain. So it puts DeMarcus Robinson at captain here with Corum in addition to Kyron and Devontae Adams as well. How's this going to sim? This leaves no money on the table. No fucking chance. Negative 16% ROI. Well, fuck me. Pretty chalky assholes is a good band name. All right, real fast, I'm just going to go back to the sim. I'm gonna select the players that I want to have in a lineup no matter what. And we'll see what the top sims are with that, because this is a slate where I feel pretty strongly about the best plays are obviously McCaffrey, Puka, Kyron. So I'm gonna try to put them all in here. I won't limit it to captain either. It could just be anywhere in the spot. I contains Puka and McCaffrey, and lineup contains Kyron. So the top one is that Luke Farrell lineup. Luke Farrell, captain, McCaffrey, Carty, Kyron, Mac Jones, Puka Nacua. Number 2 is Kyron, captain, Brian Robinson, McCaffrey, Jake Tongas, Puka, Rams D. That's kind of fun. I don't mind that one. But then how does Brian Robinson and McCaffrey get there with Rams D making it? It's a little tough. Rams D at captain at number 3, McCaffrey, Eddie Pinheiro, Josh Carty, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. Ooh, these are not fun lineups. Slate, man. All right. Sim is much like a toddler, picky eaters. I agree with that. Rams DST at captain with those core plays. That's what we just got. So that's this lineup. Rams D, McCaffrey, Pinheiro, Carty, Kyron, Puka. I will say, too, if you really expect the Niners to get their ass kicked. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not showing you guys the screen. My bad. Here's the screen that I was pulling up here. If you guys really want to get unique on the slate and you think the Niners get their ass completely stomped, play Niners D as your 1 in a 5-1 build, like make them your bring back. That's always a build to consider in a slate where a team, you expect them to get their ass completely kicked. I don't think the Niners total is low enough to justify that with 20 implied points. That's one way to do it. All right, I think we did the best we can here today, guys. Number 1, stay tuned if you want to see my juicy gossip thing, because I do have a bit prepared for that. Before we do that, though, quick plugs, and I'll give you guys my 3 ways to get unique on the slate based on everything we just saw. Subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. Again, I'm just one dude showing you the best data I possibly can. Of course, if you remember, you also get access to my data sheet that I reference ad nauseum on stream with all the data I pull and put into one clean Excel dump here. But one clean dump. But please subscribe, hit the like button, especially here. It goes a long way for me here. It helps me fight the YouTube algorithm here in a DFS space that is shrinking by the day. Check out Stochastic, 15% off. Check out the Solver. Both are promo code SPLASH. Links down in the description. And join the channel, too. It's $5 to join. You get access to the Discord. You can see all my takes as various NFL players get injured. I tell you guys how I expect it to develop for the guys behind them. I also give my sheet in the Discord. We talk about stuff in there. It's a good place to be, a good community we're building. So please do join the channel. And then join the Discord by clicking the link in the description. It'll add you automatically to the Discord. All right, 3 ways to get unique on this one. Number 1, fade 1 or both of McCaffrey and Puka. Going to be really hard to do it because these guys are so well projected. They should still make a lineup in the flex because of how high those projections are. That said, when you see 2 players that come in every lineup, everybody's going to have a hard time fading them. Really keep in mind here, again, same thing we talked about humbling yourself, about your thoughts likely being my thoughts, all being in parallel to everybody else's, but also just keeping in mind that, like, it makes you uncomfortable to not play McCaffrey and Puka. It's going to make everybody else uncomfortable to not play McCaffrey and Puka. So that's one way to get unique, whether it hits or not. It's always a way to get unique. Number 2 way to get unique, playing more Niners than Rams. People are going to naturally play more Rams. Everybody thinks the Rams will kick the Niners' ass because they're missing so much of their team. Niners are still a well-coached team, still a well-run organization. If you just play, and the team total's not that low. Like, it's 20 implied points to the Niners. They're only a 6.5-point dog. So Niners keeping them somehow, keeping them competitive. Rams drives kind of petering out, allowing more field goals. Those are ways to consider that the game is more competitive than people realize. At the very least, heading into the 4th. Number 3 way to get unique on this slate, playing the really shitty captains. Like, I don't really want to do it that much, to be honest, but the Sims, both sites seem to support to some capacity. Playing your Luke Farrell's at captain, playing your, what other shitty guys are up here? Well, I'm trying to just look at the lineups off screen real fast. You're putting your Luke Farrell at captain. It's really the Colby Parkinson comes up at captain, and top ROI lineups. It's really the only 2 coming up at top. Kendrick Bourne comes up a little bit captain. It just seems like the captain ownership is a way that the sim was really pushing it. So play a non-obvious captain. Again, there's 80% ownership tied those top 5 guys in stochastic data. Just play somebody that's not one of those top 5, and that might be a really good way to get unique. Might win you the money. Okay, so that's the ways to get unique here. We're done with the showdown content. That said, remember, guys, earlier in the spring where I was harassed by best ball Twitter, I lashed out because, here's the video I put out there. It is in fact still a top Google result, calling out this guy, Milton. Let me share the screen here. This guy, Milton Williams, threatened to attack me, the 3rd user from Underdog to threaten to come to my house in the Philadelphia area and attack me in some way. Put a video out there, cost me my Underdog deal to try to fight back against what I think is bullshit, that I should have to deal with this is like somebody getting loosely paid by a gambling company. You have to deal with their users insulting me and all of that. So this guy, whatever, don't like him. You'll note here on his Twitter, he hasn't posted. He follows his Flash Play handle. He hasn't posted since June 24th. Why has this guy, who the best ball community on Twitter defended so full-throatedly, they backed him? He's such a nice guy, right? And I'm not a nice guy, apparently. Anyway, he hasn't posted since June 24th. Why is that? Oh, is it because he got arrested for being a part of a drug ring? Is this why? In fact, on July 3rd, this guy, Milton Williams, here we go. Where's his name? Charged along with Joyner for being a part of the death of somebody in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So this guy's in jail. And in fact, has a $500,000 bond. Let me see if it's in this article. Here, Milton Williams, 48-year-old, by the way, 48-year-old guy, a grandfather in a coke ring. Fucking crazy. And it's all allegations for the record. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he didn't do. I do know that he threatened to physically attack me, and then a bunch of fucking R words on Twitter thought that he was a good guy and defended him. But here he is. Coke party. Here we go. Only one of the people is facing a charge related to the overdose death. But here we go. Williams returned to prison, unable to post a $500,000 bail. So unfortunately for him, he won't be able to tweet at Underdog asking for $3 tournaments anymore. Point being, though, don't get on my bad side, or you too might get busted in a coke ring. Really, the big point is that I know when people are shitty. I know when people suck. Trust my judgment on this, guys, because, in fact, sometimes they might be running drug rings in parts of Pennsylvania. By the way, 95,000 person town, so big city, not really doxing. Here you go. So hope that does well. Yes, there you go, guys. We got some wows. We got some LOL. What the fucks? Not the person I want threatening you. That's true, but he's just part of the ring, Anyway, that's the update, guys. Not worth a separate video. This is mostly to reward you guys who watch every video and you want to see a follow-up here. And the only reason I know, by the way, is because the video, the YouTube video I showed you guys, I was getting some views on it. And I was like, why am I getting views on this video? That's so odd. And, maybe it's getting recommended to people. Maybe it's somebody looking me up and trying to judge me for it. But in reality, it's probably because this guy was under federal investigation. And as somebody, I think I am the KY pointed out in the Discord, there is a very realistic possibility that, in fact, when they were looking this dude up, that they found my video of me bashing him about Underdog stuff and threatening violence on me. That's it. Be careful, dude. I mean, well, he can't get out of he can't get the bail. So that's that. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys because it's weird and it's part of the life, I guess, of doing this stuff on the internet. But I guess be careful online because you never know who's threatening violence on you, who might actually be running or a key part of a drug ring. Can you imagine you're a 48-year-old grandfather in a drug ring? But that's it. The cartel's gonna come after me. I mean, hey, look, I didn't say nothing. Getting rid of fentanyl in Pennsylvania is a noble cause. That's it. I'm just picking wars with people that are killing this great nation. Cutting some coke with fentanyl. That's it. But anyway, guys, that's the update. Only channel you're gonna get stuff like this, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Pray for me, I guess, if this guy ever gets out. But I'll see you guys again soon. Had to find a new dealer. Sorry to hear that. Sorry. Like, can this job get any weirder? Like, I love what I do. I love showing up, doing this content for you guys. That's it. I'm gonna get a subpoena. I don't know what he does coke-wise. I just know that he harassed me. That's it. They already did the shit. Anyway, I appreciate all you guys watching live here. Whether you are in drug rings or not, I appreciate your view, appreciate your likes. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow for the main slate here. Same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. Watch the Stochastic Strategy Show with Lofty and me this morning if you want to get more Showdown content. Great video on there. Always have a good time talking with Lofty. And he brings great takes that I sometimes don't see it the same way and bring stuff to my eyes that I'm not aware of. So watch that video. And make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time, even though you could roll up this $100 bill and snort all your coke and fentanyl with it in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splashplay Pod. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more. So enjoy your days. Good luck. And shout out to all you guys who hung on to the end of the video to see this stupid shit. But I appreciate you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.